Hi, I'm Caroline Mitchell, Canine Behaviourist at Good Doggy. The reactive brain often confuses people because it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense sometimes the way our dogs make decisions. So I want to explain today just a little bit about how the reactive brain works and why it makes the decisions that it does, and maybe help you understand a little bit more about what is happening inside your dog whenever they're triggered and they make decisions that maybe don't seem to make a lot of sense at the time. So to demonstrate this, I put a quiz on my website a few months ago, and the quiz had one simple question and 4 answers. I added a timer and I asked people to have a go at this quiz. Now, 91% of the people got the quiz wrong, and if that was you, don't feel bad, because the quiz was designed in a certain way that I expected people to get it wrong. So the question was, how many of each kind of animal did Moses take on the ark? The answers were 0, 1, 2, and 3. So 91% of people put 2. Of course, Moses didn't take any animals onto the ark at all. So the answer should have been 0. So what actually happened here was that the timer added a little bit of pressure to you when you were answering the quiz. Putting you under pressure meant that you didn't have time to think about all of the information that was given. So your reactive brain took over, and your reactive brain picked on a couple of the most important pieces of information that it considered at the time. It saw ark, animals, must be 2. It just quickly drew a conclusion based on such a small amount of information. And like most people, whenever you got the answer afterwards and you were told you got it wrong, by that point, your thinking brain had actually kicked in, and your thinking brain was going, but Moses didn't take any animals on the ark. But it was too late for that because the timer had put your brain under pressure. So that's kind of the difference between these two types of brain. So we can see your dog has 2 brains. One part of the brain is assigned to information gathering. This is your slow brain, your thinking brain. This part of the brain is very slow. It's interested in all of the senses around it. It will take in all types of information. And when your dog is put into a situation that might trigger it, when your dog is far away from that, the thinking brain is still in charge. At some point, when your dog has noticed his trigger is present, you'll get close enough that the threat detection system will activate. This is the last chance that you have when you're working with your reactive dog to intervene with their training. This is the last chance that his thinking brain will actually be on. Once his threat detection system has been activated, his brain is now going into an emergency mode. The reactive brain takes over when you're in emergency mode because we're under pressure. We don't want to wait for all of the information. If you're being chased by a car, it doesn't matter what color the car is, it doesn't matter what make the car is, it doesn't even matter how fast the car is going. We need the reactive brain to quickly take over, make a decision and say, that car's coming at us, we should get out of the way. All of the other information is irrelevant. But it does mean that some pieces of information get missed. So you can see in that quiz that I did that a couple of important things did get missed. And in this situation, they might get missed too. That car is coming at you kind of fast. Actually, maybe it's not coming at you fast enough to get close enough to do anything. Maybe it's already braking. But we don't want to wait and figure all of that information out before we decide how to respond. So we just go, fast car, coming my way, I'm leaving. So that could have been the wrong decision, but it kept us safe. And actually, that's the point. The reactive brain's job is just to keep us safe. It's not there to be right or wrong. It's just there to keep us alive and to not let us get into any kind of trouble. So it makes all these assumptions. It's not waiting for all of this information. And what can happen then is that because it's not waiting for all of the information, it can start to generalize. So there's no time to check, so your dog's out in the park, he sees a dog in the distance and he's had a bad experience in the past. Maybe it was with a Labrador, it could be a black Labrador, medium sized kind of dog. And and your dog sees something in the distance that looks like it might be a black Labrador. Once the threat detection system is activated, it doesn't matter if it is a black Labrador that's medium-sized or not. What matters is it might be. So your reactive brain then starts to generalize. So it doesn't matter if it is actually a medium-sized black Labrador. The fact that it could be is enough to push your dog's brain into a reactive response. Survival is its only goal. So your dog has been triggered. They've had a reaction to something. And once they come back to earth again and their thinking brain starts to switch on again, they'll do a little kind of post-performance review. As I said already, the reactive brain's only goal is to keep you safe. So in this example, if your dog has come away and they are unscathed and you are as well, nothing bad happened, then your reactive brain goes, well, that was a good decision then. That was the right reaction because nothing bad happened. Of course, nothing bad could have happened anyway. In the situation with the car may have stopped well before us. With that dog, it might have just wandered off and gone the other way, may not have even come over to your dog. But it doesn't really matter. What matters is that the emergency response system was triggered. The dog reacted in probably a big defensive kind of way. The dog survived. That's all that matters. And it doesn't take very many times to actually repeat this process before this becomes a default behavior. Safety is the absolute most important thing to dogs, to people, to birds, insects, whatever. Feeling safe is a primal need and it trumps everything. There is nothing that I could offer you that would make you risk your own personal safety. There are no amounts of Ferrero Rocher that I could give you that would say you would swap something that makes you feel safe. You wouldn't stand in front of a speeding car if I offered you a couple of Ferrero Rocher. You think that that's a dangerous situation and you would be right and you would try to preserve your own safety. So there's no money in the world that I can bribe you to put yourself in a bad situation. Most people would prize their safety as more important, and your dog is exactly the same. So because safety is so important, it doesn't take very many times for them to repeat this process. I saw my trigger, emergency response activated, did my defensive behavior, came away feeling safe. It doesn't take very many times to repeat that before that becomes default behavior. So what counts as pressure? Because in the quiz, I put you under time pressure. I put a time limit on the amount of time you had to answer the question. And it wasn't a very short time limit, but a time limit existed. And that forced your reactive brain to take over. So that can create pressure. That puts people under pressure, it puts dogs under pressure, but not just time. Lots of things can put dogs into a feeling of being under pressure, feeling hungry, feeling thirsty, being tired. That makes everybody feel under pressure, and it's one good reason why we're told not to go shopping for our groceries when we're feeling tired or hungry. You know, when those needs are outstanding, we make different decisions, you know. So we're under pressure in the supermarket, we feel hungry, we feel tired. So we're looking for foods immediately that actually will solve those problems, but not really long-term problems. You know, our thinking brain is thinking, well, actually, you know, if you eat all of those chocolate biscuits, then you're going to regret that because, you know, that's a lot of fat and sugar and blah, blah, blah. But your reactive brain is making a fast decision saying we need energy right now, so we're buying the chocolate. It won't be until you leave the supermarket or you've had your chocolate biscuits that your thinking brain will kick back in and will question whether that was a good decision or not. But these things count as pressure. Being in pain counts as being in pressure as well. So if you've got a little kind of soreness, even, it doesn't have to be a lot of pain. It doesn't have to be life-affecting pain. A little bit of a headache, some indigestion, a sore hip, that kind of stuff, you know, maybe a bit of stiffness. That also can put you under pressure and change the way you make decisions. It can affect whether you use your reactive brain or your thinking brain. Overwhelm is a huge contributor to pressure. And I talk about overwhelm quite a lot because for reactive dogs, overwhelm is probably one of the biggest contributors to this. So we have these two brains. Your reactive brain is always ready to take over. And whenever you're working with a reactive dog, your job is to stop that from happening, because once that reactive brain has been triggered, once that emergency alert system has fired up, then you're on a path towards a reaction, which is what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to stop our dogs from reacting to triggers around them with that anxious, defensive, sometimes aggressive kind of behavior. So we need to stop that brain from triggering. So what we need to do is we need to establish the goal of our dog's behavior. In this case, it will be safety. So our dog needs to feel safe. And we need to help them find an alternative that leads them there. So we need to expose them to their trigger enough that they know it's there, enough that they've become alerted to it, but not enough that they go down that path and go into a reactive behavior. We need to find a way to reward that. So what we're trying to do is force our dog to take a different path. Currently, it's very, very easy and quick for them to see their trigger and head down that path towards their reaction. But we're going to try and prevent that from happening. We need to force a new kind of behavior to become a default behavior. So we need to stop that triggering. So we need to keep our distance. We need to visit our trigger. We need to see it in the distance. If it's another dog, we need to go to the park. We need to see dogs far away. Our dog needs to become aware of that. We need to give them rewards for seeing it, but then we need to take them away before they've had a chance to create this neural path, to follow this path into that reactive behavior. So when we're trying to solve this reactive behavior, we're building a new path of behavior, a new option for our dog. And what will happen is that the dog will see his trigger, we'll give loads of rewards, we'll leave, and his brain will do the same post-performance recce and go, what happened? Was that good or bad? How did we do? And safety will still have been achieved, but your dog didn't go through that whole process of barking and crying and being defensive and everything else. That reactive brain was not given an opportunity to try and manage the situation. We stopped that from happening. We kept our dog in the thinking brain. We let them see it, we gave them a reward, and then we left. And just starting even like that means that our dog can still feel the safety they need, but without repeating the same behavior over and over again. And then we need to work on making that into a habit. I make that sound quite easy, but this is essentially what we're doing with our reactive brain. Our reactive brain gets triggered. We have no control over the decisions it makes. If we can keep the thinking brain engaged, we can reward that, create a new path, a new behavior, then eventually that will become the default and that will become the new habit. It's not that easy, it takes a lot of time, but essentially that's where we're going with our reactive brain. So hopefully that was useful. I've got a whole ton of other reactive videos that you can take a look at. I'll put some links up here, but there's a playlist full of them. And you'll find loads and loads of tips about how to manage your space, how to manage anxiety, how to manage threshold, things like that. So check those out and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now. Bye bye.